Hello, you all. This is Mary Miller, admin for the group. And I was supposed to send you this video over the weekend, which did not happen. I ended up with something where I got pretty ill. But fortunately, I'm on the upswing. So I wanted to finish up on the topic that I had picked, which is following up, which is also part of prosperity and people thriving. And so I noticed for myself when somebody doesn't follow up with me, I may or may not get something done, right? So for example, um, there was a product that I was supposed to review and see whether or not I wanted to buy it. And I never gave that person a buy when. And then that person never asked me for a buy when I would review it. So what ended up happening is I just did not review it. And that's something I need to clean up with that person. But well, I don't need to, but I'm choosing to do that. So the buy wins are really important. Even in project management, I used to use buy wins all the time. So, and if I didn't do that, what would happen is projects, the timelines would keep moving to the right. And then projects that should have taken 3 months would end up taking a year. I didn't necessarily have that problem, but I did see that with other people. And one of the things that happens is when you give, say in a project, if you give somebody a by when and they can't fulfill on that by when, then you really have that opportunity to partner with them and collaborate on, okay, what's in the way, what are you dealing with? And then you can work with them to clear any obstacles that are in their way. And then really support them in getting that work complete. Because quite honestly, whenever somebody is working on a project, they don't like it when they're stuck in this perpetual cycle of having something hang over their head, right? It's kind of like that thing that's in the back of your mind that never really goes away. And then it's like having clutter in your closet. But if you're in business and you're working on talking to clients, it's always good to follow up because you never know what would come of that follow up. So, as an example, one of my peers is doing some coaching, and somebody had wanted to do a consult, and then she opted to not do it. And that particular coach thought about not reaching back out to the person, but she ended up reaching out to that person and then they booked a consult for a later time, right? But if she had just let it slide, that person would have just disappeared. So you never know what could happen if you're just following up. And it also allows you to really create a relationship with that person versus it being something that's transactional. Um, the other thing that's really useful is, you probably want to follow up probably within a couple of days of the initial contact with that person, depending on what it is. So if they are thinking about buying, it's probably good to be like, okay, well, when can we follow up and have a conversation about this just to see where you can say it however works best for your clients, but it might be something to the effect of, let's follow up and just get a sense of where you are. Um, and then just be okay with whether they're yes or no, right? Um, and that just gives you closure. It not only gives them closure, but it also gives you closure, regardless of what they choose to do. Uh, Now, sometimes if you have a really good relationship with that person, or you have a really you did really made a difference for them in the past, you can get away with not following up within a couple days or so. But it's just better to make sure you do that in a timely fashion. And I know we all get busy. So the other thing that's good to do is kind of make it personal and really connect with people. So in the age of artificial intelligence, human connection is probably going to be more valued over time. Um, you know, AI is amazing, but it can't do things like appreciate people in a way that really connects to another human being. The next thing is to really be clear on your next step. Okay, so this is where we're gonna if the next step is like, hey, I'm thinking about it, like you may want to use that opportunity to be like, okay, well, in the next call, they may just give you either a yes or a no, or it may be an opportunity for you to really delve into any concerns that may be there for them, so you can really take care of that right then and there. Because not people are not always going to really take the time to think about it, right? That's sometimes a way, thinking about it is sometimes a way for people to get themselves off the hook. There will be times when you run across people who really are like, hey, I really need to think about this. Because if I'm saying yes to you, I'm saying no to something else. And you can still use another call to make sure that there's nothing in the way, if that's a call that they want to do. The other thing that's useful that I'm discovering for myself as well is consistency trumps persistence. So I don't really know what to say about that. It's almost like when you're consistent, then you're always learning something new. So one of my favorite people to watch on YouTube are old interviews of Kobe Bryant. And that's a function of he would look at everything in life from the perspective of what can he learn from it, whether he was succeeding or failing. Well, he didn't really consider it a failure unless you just gave up completely. But it was like it really, so when you're dealing with consistency, right? He was very consistent in how he played the game of basketball and how much he practiced, right? And he was consistent until he mastered whatever skill he was trying to accomplish. So, and actually, it wasn't until he felt like he was competent, it was until he felt like he couldn't do the move wrong. So, so building that consistency is really where you develop your skill set, and you'll just keep getting better and better over time and discovering what works and what doesn't work. So for example, I know for myself, when I first started reaching out to people, I was just terrible at it. And people would not respond. And then a few months ago, I ended up getting flooded with responses. So consistency is really important. And then if you start becoming more effective, you may want to adjust your approach a little bit so that you don't get flooded. Or you may need to start expanding, delegating or finding another team member and then delegating some of what you're doing to somebody else. And then when you're following up with people, you want to also respect their time. So if they say they have 20 minutes, just make sure, like, try to go for until 15 minutes and then spend the last 5 minutes wrapping up. And then if you need more time, then you can always ask them, hey, can we spend 5 or 10 more minutes? And if they say no, or they seem a little hesitant, then you can always ask them, can we reschedule the call or schedule another call? So, so that's kind of what I have on follow-up. The other thing, I think those are the biggest main points that I wanted to create. So again, follow-up is really important. It's really easy to be like, well, I don't really want to follow up because they haven't responded, or they might not be the right fit for what I'm doing. So don't pay attention to any of those thoughts, because you really never know. There was somebody that I had reached out to a couple times, and then on this second time, or the last time, he called me back, and we had an opportunity to catch up. And while I didn't end up with a referral, I am now on the lookout for that person and seeing if I know of some real estate agents in Atlanta, right? But I would have never thought of that way of giving back or contributing to something to someone if I had just been like, well, they didn't respond, so I'm not going to follow up and try to reach out again. So you just never know. So that's all I got for this video. If you guys have any questions or anything you want to add in the comments, please post them below, and I will talk to you later. Have a great day.